What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Stu Griff. So today I'm going to be giving my final review for the Black Ops 6 beta. So I'm going to be going over the good, the bad, and the ugly aspects of the game. So buckle up, sit back, relax, drop a sub, drop a like, and enjoy the video. Now, starting off with the good, obviously, the first good thing I have to say is the new Omni movement system is really fluid, really fun to use, really cool addition to the game. I know a lot of people will have their problems with it. I personally was a really big fan of it. So running backwards and diving to the side saved me a lot of times in this game in like a lot of gunfights, and it's gonna bring back the trick shotting from the good old days. And I feel that this is a huge change to the FPS industry, especially Call of Duty. I love and welcome this change to the game. As with any new feature, as with any new big feature for a video game, this obviously does have a learning curve, but once you get used to it, once you get the right settings, it is buttery smooth. And I think this is the biggest change to a Call of Duty game since Sledgehammer introduced the advanced movement with the extra dimension 10 years ago with Advanced Warfare. So I think that this is a really nice addition to the game. Obviously, a lot of people think that this game has been stale for the past couple of years. There have really been no true new big features added to the game, and this is the first time they've done that in a really long time. So I appreciate the change, and that's the first good point. Now, moving on to the second good point, this is more of an improvement from weekend one to weekend two, but I still think it's a good point to touch upon, is the spawn improvement. Now, in weekend one, the spawns were straight up dog water. You spawned on top of one another, and it was just tough to play, and especially with the Jackal, with how powerful that was. Getting killed off of spawn with the Jackal wasn't that fun at all, and obviously in weekend two for the open beta, Treyarch greatly improved upon that, and that's something that I have to give them their flowers for. Obviously, with smaller maps, with Babylon especially, the spawns still do suck. More on that later. But with the game, with the maps like Rewind, Scud, obviously you had Skyline and Derelict, I felt that the spawns were greatly improved to the point that they were more playable and they were more fun. And I think that what Treyarch did here is just phenomenal. Obviously, there's going to be a little more fine tuning as we get closer to October 25th, the release date of Black Ops 6. But for now, I think that these spawns have vastly improved, and I think that this is another good feature. I think the spawns are much better. Moving on to point number three, I think that Treyarch flawlessly executed the map Skyline and Derelict. The first map I played on weekend one was Derelict, and I personally had a really fun time. I loved the lane style of the map, the flow of the map, and it was a perfect map for the beta. I mean, you could have fun in TDM, in hardpoint domination. I think that Derelict is the quintessential track map. Same thing with Skyline. I had a lot of fun playing hardpoint domination TDM. I thought that Skyline was easily the best map of the beta. And another thing that I really appreciate about the maps is that the beta had only new maps. It didn't recycle any of the maps. Obviously, we're gonna see fan favorites come out as during the life cycle of the game, like Hijacked, Raid, Express, and obviously Nuketown. So that is good point number three. All right, now moving on to good point number four. I was a huge fan of the menu music. I felt that it captured the true meaning of the game. I'm a huge sucker for music. I think that if you have a good soundtrack, that's obviously not the biggest part of Call of Duty. It's not even close to the biggest part, but I think that people will appreciate a good soundtrack, and you won't have people just turn off the jukebox and just sit in silence in the lobbies waiting for them to load into a game. So, Treyarch, if you're listening, good job with the music production. I give you an A plus for that. So that's good point number four. And finally, the last big good point I have to say is love the way that Treyarch implemented and executed the perk system. I love that they incentivized using three of the same colored perks. So I used three blue perks, and I abused the living daylights, the absolute hell out of recon during the beta. And it let me see enemies through the short wall for a short period of time right after respawning, which I think is absolutely cracked. And another thing that I appreciate is it's a lot like Sixth Sense. So if you have an enemy in your vicinity, depending on what direction they are relative to you, the screen flashes yellow in that part of the map. So if you have an enemy behind you, it flashes yellow on the bottom part of the map. Obviously, it's on the screen, the actual game screen, instead of the mini map, which is what Sixth Sense was way back in Black Ops 3. But I still really appreciate that. It makes it easier to see, and it's not taking up too much space to the point where you have to pretend that it's not there. I appreciate that it's noticeable, but it's not too noticeable to the point where it's just taking up a lot of real estate on the screen. So that's the final good point I have to say about Black Ops 6. Alright, moving on to the bad stuff. Bad point number one, I was not really a fan of Scud, Rewind, and Babylon. They felt really clunky, and I felt like they felt more like an Infinity Ward map than they did a Treyarch map. Obviously, Infinity Ward had a huge influence on this game with the game engine they use in IW engine. More on that later in the video. But they felt really clunky. It didn't really feel right. So if I'm playing Domination on Rewind, literally everybody's using the middle lane. Nobody really uses the outside lane, in my opinion. So if they move the maps to where it's like more like neutral, so they utilize both sides, like all lanes of the map. I think it would really be good. Obviously, nobody uses like the far right lane. Nobody uses that lane at all. I barely use it. I've barely seen anybody on that side of the map. And I think that Scud was too closed off. There weren't many enough open parts. Obviously, you have the trenches, but the trenches, I didn't really like the trenches part of the map. I felt that nobody was really using it, and it just wasn't really a good map. And I think Babylon was straight up a disaster class. I think it's one of the worst maps. It's probably the worst map of the beta. You could literally just go from a flag, walk up the stairs, and you could get to the B flag on domination. And the spawns are just straight up trash. Obviously, with a smaller map, it's harder to perfect the spawns or even get the spawns to a point where people are enjoying it, people are having a good time. So I think that there should be like some sort of timer, because obviously if two people die at the same time, then they could spawn right on top of each other. One person could kill the other. That's going to be a disaster class. So fix the spawns and fix the flags on domination. I think that this could be a really fun, enjoyable map if they fix that stuff. So that's bad point number one. Now, bad point number two might not necessarily be a bad thing. I felt neutral on it, but I was leaning towards the bad side of it. I felt that this game had too much modern warfare. Now, obviously, it does use the same engine, and I think it has to use the same engine to sort of get the fluidity in the movement, obviously implement the new on movement system. The game felt a little bit too grim. The colors weren't what you would expect from a Treyarch game. Obviously, Treyarch has that sort of vibrant arcadey feel, and it's not as realistic as say a modern warfare game. It's like BO Cold War and then MW 2019 just basically had a baby. That's what Black Ops 6 is. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I like a lot of the aspects of the game, but I feel that there's too much Modern Warfare 2019 for this to be classified as a true Black Ops Treyarch game. And even Black Ops Cold War, which was slightly like Modern Warfare, it had that arcadey feel, the vibrant colors, and I think that this might be an issue. It's like an identity issue, if you will, that people might have a problem with. So this is a bad point in my opinion, but it might not necessarily be a bad thing. This could be a good point for people as well. Now, another issue number three is I had a huge issue with how three generation speed. It was really slow. It was so slow to the point where everybody needs to have stim shots. I think it is an absolute must. And going off of that, it sucks having to replace a tactical grenade with a stim shot. Obviously, you had that in Black Ops Cold War, and you only get two stim shots, kind of like Modern Warfare 2019. So if you don't have it, you either have to have scavenger to get more, or you have to have the ammo box, the field upgrade equipped. And it sucks because in Cold War and in Black Ops 4, they were rechargeable. Obviously, it had like a cooldown time, which makes sense. So it's like a couple of seconds. So once you use it, I think that it should have a cooldown time. Or they should improve the health regeneration speed to kind of combat that. Because if you have only two stim shots and you get into multiple gunfights and you lose the stim shots and you have a soul health regeneration speed, then you could end up dying. And that's something that a lot of people, myself included, will have a problem with come launch day. So if you're listening to this track, I beg of you, please make these stim shots either have a cooldown time so they're rechargeable or improve the health regeneration speed. So that is that is bad point number three. Now, bad point number four, millions of, I'm sure, not millions, countless people have had this issue, and that is lag spikes. I play on a PS5. I think the PS5 is pretty powerful. It's had very few internet issues in the time that I've used it. My PS5 is not even a foot away. It might be like 5 inches away, or not even like five, like 3 inches away from my Wi-Fi router, and I still have lagging issues. I did try using an LAN cable, but it doesn't really help much. I still had packet bursts. I still had lag spikes. I think it kicked me out of a game once, and I didn't have any issues with migrating hosts, and that's something that Treyarch had a lot of issues with. Obviously, Infinity Ward what I will give them flowers for is the fact that their internet connection is amazing, their hit detection is amazing. With Treyarch, that's been a little bit of a problem, and it just sucks because a lot of people want to have smooth internet, and if you already have rough internet, this is going to exacerbate the problem. And with the people that have phenomenal internet that pay a lot of money a month to have this really good internet to play these good games properly, this isn't helping their case. So I hope that Cherk um you know smooths out this issue prior to the launch of the game. Obviously they have until October 25th to fix the issues, so I think that Treyarch will get this fixed, but for now it's a bad point, and that's the final bad point I have to say. Now moving on to the ugly.
Excuse me, sir. I hope my horrible ugliness won't be a distraction to you.
Not at all, boy!
This is literally the one of the biggest issues that has been plaguing Call of Duty for the past like couple of years, and that is skill-based matchmaking. I think this has some of the strongest skill-based matchmaking I've ever seen in Call of Duty. It sort of reminds me that image of Patrick literally just vacuuming up that whole table of food when him and Patrick and Squid were stuck in the forest. And a good example of this is I dropped 40 kills one game and I had a 20 kill differential in a game of domination, I believe, on Skyline. Literally the next game, I went 22 and 30. Now, I consider myself to be a decent Call of Duty player, obviously not like a 1 point, like a 2 kill death player, but I think I'm like a 1.5 or 1.6. So I consider myself pretty good, but I'm not to the point where like, okay, I'm an MLG guy. I just have fun. I play to have fun and I play to have good clips and make content, but I understand why SBMM exists. It exists as a way to protect the more casual players from being placed into the harder lobbies so they don't, if they have, by this algorithm, if they have like a 3 and 10 game and then they have like a 10 and 2 game, they literally get placed into the MLG lobby straight up, and then they have a terrible kill differential, they have a terrible game. And obviously this is the beta. They're going to make some tweaks prior to October 25th. This has been an issue plaguing Call of Duty for many years, and I think it's the biggest issue that's driving away people from enjoying Call of Duty. So I think that they need to alter the algorithm maybe. So I think the algorithm takes into account only one game. So for example, if I play 5 games and I only had 2 games where I had a positive kill differential, and one of those games I have a +10, I get placed into the MLG lobbies. And if I play the last game with a +10 kill differential, I get placed into the MLG lobbies, and I get punished and placed into the superior lobbies if I even have a sliver of a good game. I think the algorithm fails to take into account the previous games. So if it takes into account a range of 5 or even 6 or 7 games, I think that it'll be better equipped to place you into the proper lobby so you're not getting screwed over and you're actually having balanced games instead of just going off and then having a crap game. So I think that this is something that Treyarch needs to take into account, altering the algorithm and the strength of SBMM so it's not as bad, so people aren't just having this wild fluctuation of games. And so moving on to my final thoughts, I think this is genuinely the most fun I've had on a Call of Duty and a beta since MW 2019. BO6 was so much fun and I was able to capture some great gameplay. I'm a huge fan of the new movement system, and this is like the biggest change they made to a Call of Duty since advanced movement was introduced to the franchise 10 years ago. I'm very excited for this game to come out, and I look forward to making lots of content for you guys. Obviously, there's a lot of things they have to change, like the spawns of Babylon, the internet issues, and the skill-based matchmaking. But with that Treyarch has done in the past, I have faith that they will be able to deliver on this game. And yeah, that's the video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the game, be sure to drop a sub, be sure to drop a like, and follow my social media. The handle is in the description below. I'm almost at 100 subs. I'm only 20 subs away, and I owe it all to you guys. Thanks again, Stu Crew. This is Stuger signing off. Peace out.